Hi, I'm Chantra Powell, and I'm the Proven Not Perfect podcast host and a best-selling author on Amazon. Do any of these words call out to you? Drive, ambition, doing, leading, creating. These words call many of us, and sometimes to heroic impact. This is all good until we forget about our own self and our own self needs, mainly care. My Village of All-Stars, they not only command position, but they command influence. Well, there's always a backstory. I'm myself, Chantra Powell. I've had to put myself on the sideline a few times, but I'm still in the game. I'm staying in the game. The only thing different about me is that I'm proven not perfect. Enjoy. Kim Seymour.
Chantra Powell.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's so good to be here with you, and we're going to get right in because there is not a moment to waste with the drip that I know that you have to offer. Look, we will see, and we will prove what I just said. So I want to ask you this question just to start and just to anchor our thinking. When I say authentic leadership, what does that mean to you? What is authentic leadership?
I think it's understanding what the goal is and leading people there in a way that is sustainable for you, that you can believe in, and that you think is really in line with where you and the people that you are leading are trying to go. The opposite of that is trying to fake it.
Ooh.
The opposite of that is doing things that is only aligned to what the company wants.
Yes.
Instead of taking into account not only the people who are impacted by it, that could be your team, it could be your peers, but also doesn't make you feel good.
Ooh.
You wake up in the morning or when you put your head down at night. So the gut check for authentic leadership is, am I doing this in a way that feels good to me, that I can be proud of?
How would you know that? So here's the thing. So we're going to roll it back. When you first took your first footsteps into corporate,
Mm-hmm.
you showed up with all of the vision and all of the excitement for what you were about to start as your career, right? You put in the work to be there. You had all the accolades. Here you are, you're starting. Who were you then?
Mm-hmm.
And do you look back and say, I was playing it completely authentically, or has that changed over time?
Look, for me, yes, I was playing it completely authentically. We can have that conversation because at that point, and this is going to be controversial, at that point, had I earned the right to be authentic in the space that I have? I'm not quite sure. And I do have some opinions about that. But what I did show up as is curious.
Ooh.
And humble and completely in learning mode.
Mm.
And so I took every role as there's something I'm taking away from this that is adding to who I am becoming as a leader. Every interaction, there's something I'm taking away from that, good or bad, right? Positive or negative, that is going into who I'm trying to become as a leader. From an authenticity standpoint, I was very much me from the very beginning, but I was the me that I was then.
So let's click into that because this is graduation season when this is being taped, whether you're listening to it at that time or not. When this is being taped, this is graduation season. I had the privilege of going into the graduation of Florida A&M, historically Black college and university, and cheering and screaming for all the babies, including mine. That being said, they all heard messages from the dais about, you've got it, you're there, go in, be wise. All the things that I think, from my Jesuit education, Loyola University, graduating, I heard the same things. I look at them and I say, how will they do that?
Mm-hmm.
Will they be allowed to do that completely? Is that something that I had the authority to do immediately or not? Did I have to grow into that? Similar to you, I
Did you
feel.
even know what to do?
Yes.
What the steps were?
Yes. Yes.
Um what the landscape looked like.
Yes.
Know how to play. And I posit now, I say it a lot, we don't teach people, we teach people how to get a job. We don't teach people how to be in the workplace, right? Or how to navigate a career.
Yes.
Because that's more important at some point than your actual knowledge base in your field.
Yes.
And I focus a lot on, you've heard it a million times, the unwritten rules or the what your mama never told you or the, fill in the blank, what you want to call it.
What are your 3 favorite ones? You got to tell us. What are the 3 favorite unwritten rules that you focus on?
Relationships are everything.
Yeah.
Relationships are everything. So, and really from that, you can offshoot to all these other things, because even when you talk about authenticity, look, I want you to be authentic. The one thing I do appreciate about this generation is at least they think they know what their boundaries are at this particular time, and they are very attached to them.
Yes.
We probably should have had a little bit more of that.
I agree.
But at the same time, that has to be blended with the understanding that you can show up however you want to show up. You're opening doors and closing doors when you do that. Mm-hmm. And do you understand and appreciate what that means? Show up however you want to show up. Mm-hmm. Does that work in that environment? Is it distracting from your message or your goal or your whatever it is that you're trying to achieve?
Yes.
If the answer is yes, it is distracting, and it's an obstacle, and you're okay with that, no more discussion to be had.
Yes.
But if you are trying to work within someone else's corporate environment, because that's important, until you have your own thing, you're answering to somebody, and you're fitting into someone else's ecosystem.
All the way up to the top, which is
all the way up to the top.
Don't think about.
And even at the top, I just told someone this other day, the CEO can do whatever. The CEO has a boss.
That's right on.
Called a board of directors. So
it does.
Anyway, so I want people coming in to figure out how to work in that lane. How much of yourself can you bring that still allows you to be effective in whatever it is you're trying to do? Because I think there's a way to do that. Believe it or not, I think we did it back then. We didn't know anything from anything. I know I did.
That's right on. Girl.
But I didn't know how to be anything other than myself. What I needed to do was understand the environment that had to be effective within.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Girl.
I don't know if I gave 3, but that's one. I do think you always stay curious, always stay learning. Mm-hmm. The minute you think you have it all figured out, and there's nothing else for you to learn, you've lost. In my opinion. And nothing makes that more clear than the advent of AI right now.
That's right.
As an example. What else do I say? Feedback is not optional.
Say that for the cheap seats, girl.
And I do think that, and some of it is cultural, and I think we have to acknowledge that some of us feel like we have to show up with all the answers immediately, right? All the education, all the whatever anyone poured into us, but we're still learning.
Yes.
And so how do you know whether you're making the mark or missing the mark if people are around you 360 are not telling you?
That's right.
Now, there's something to be said about, well, how do you make sure you're getting this information? By giving people permission to be honest with you.
Yes.
But feedback is always going to be your help, not your hindrance. So I have more, but those are the ones off the top of my head.
I have to tell you though, honestly, there's a podcast literally on each one of those. Each one of them.
For sure.
Because
Well, a lot of it, this is the business I'm in now. I have a playbook for each one of those. I just talked about self-advocacy
Mm,
um, earlier this week.
mm,
There's a whole um, art
mm,
to that. There's some tips and tricks and all that, but there's also an art and some nuances to that. I'm going to be talking about relationship building.
mm.
How does one go about that in a strategic yet authentic way?
Yes.
So yes, all of these things are necessary for career navigation, if that's what's important to you.
So let me ask you this, because someone is going to absolutely just ring your phone off the hook to understand more about that playbook. I think each lane is incredible and amazing. Tell us a little bit more about how you built the understanding of who you were authentically.
Mhm.
And was there any moment that you acknowledged the not so perfect parts of who you were being?
Mhm. Mhm.
Is there any one moment where you acknowledged that you were proven and becoming?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, not just because of how I was raised, but also training, law school, business school, but mainly law school, where you're taught to speak in declarative sentences, not interrogatories,
Yeah.
right? So that's how I communicate, or at least, in the beginning, and still most of the time, depending on the
You
situation.
have not changed, and I've known you for a whole lot of years. We ran up this hill together, and there have been moments with tears where I have contacted you with, I showed up exactly who I was on exactly the assignment that I was given, right? And because I've always been blessed with a trusted circle of wise people, my wise people would always look me in the eye and tell it to me straight, right? But what was going on around you? Did
Like,
you
what
tap
did, what
into
did you
that?
get for that?
That's
Um, for me, I understood, there's a certain self, what is the word? Righteousness
ooh,
and being your authentic self, if to be honest, if we're all being honest.
yep.
And so I got a lot out of showing up as exactly in all my Kimdom. But then I would get the
I
feedback.
have flashes of like, you don't even, I'm like, yes,
Yeah, I do. Because nothing is much change. And that's okay, but you have to have your surround sound, as you just said, about people that will say, okay, now I was in that meeting. How do you think that went?
that's
You
right.
showed up in all your Kimness, but
That's
did
right.
you get what you needed out of that?
That's right on.
So there are moments along your journey where you stop and you think, okay, I remember a girlfriend, if she's ever watching this, she very much remembers this conversation. It was actually about a personal relationship that she was having.
Yep.
And she was like, this, and this. And I gave it here and I told him this. And I was just listening. And I said,
Mm.
well, you can be right or you can be with him.
Ooh.
Which one of those is more important? Your rightness that I'm not even convinced was right?
Mm-hmm.
You are? You
Mm-hmm.
can sit in that or you could try to make this work. So it was the same thing, believe it or not, early in my career. I can be as righteous as I want to be about showing up and, you know, making my point and whatever. But did I bring people along with me?
Yes.
Did they feel like they had the right to give me input to the already conceived conclusion that I thought I had? That's not helpful.
Nope.
That's not helpful for the overall goal of the team, the company, and it's not helpful for me
Amen.
as my brand. So that was one of those moments for sure where I had to think, well, you can be
Right
all that you
here.
think you are, or you can figure out how to gain followership.
Yes. Whew.
I really had to have that conversation with me. And for me, and what is matters to me at my core, making other people successful is very important to me, which means that they've got to feel like they can be honest and vulnerable or whatever it is. So intimidation is not helpful to that goal. So how do I combat that with people? And I still do that. I have little tips and tricks I do it myself when I know I'm going into a conversation with someone, that I keep my eye on what is it that you want them to walk away from you with. So,
Kim, this is excellent. So, okay. So that's the not perfect part. When did you know you were becoming the proven part?
Well, for me, I'm always becoming, I think. But, well, I think there are a couple of things that come to mind. I always have an opinion about most things. But, you grow and you learn, okay, this is just from my perspective. This is just my lens. Take it for what it's worth. But when people started calling me off the record, off the people I work with long ago who have gone on to bigger and better things or whatever thing or no thing, and they would still call and still value my opinion or the steer, or sometimes they just needed a girl, you sound crazy, whatever the thing is.
Or they just needed a listener to a cry. Because I remember I've done that with you.
Yeah, I'm not that great. I think I do it okay.
Here's why you were the one. Because I have been blessed. Like I said, I started my career with thoroughbreds, and we all knew the assignment, and we ran hard and were very successful. So I know that God has gifted me with the community, but I know who to call for what season.
Right.
I don't call you for you to cry with me. I call you because I got the ones I could call that, girl, can you believe, blah, blah, blah. I got the ones who will literally cry with me, okay? I call you. My spirit knows to call you for stop crying. What? Let's roll this back and talk about the scenario and really what's going on.
It's or now what? Right? I don't mind the crying. I'm much better at dealing with other people's emotions than I used to be.
And what's next?
What's gonna dry the tears?
That's right on.
Or what's next? Yeah. Or I am the one that's gonna be like, we need a plan. So that's what we're gonna focus on next. So that was one way. I value that people still value the relationship that we built, because I put a lot of effort into that, some more than others. The advice or sounding board, because sometimes I really don't have the answer, but I usually know the right question to ask.
Yeah.
Put us there. Another time when I was like, was when I was given responsibility in a job that nothing in my background indicated that I was ready for that heft of a role. And I can look back on it and say, me and my team did it really well, I think. That role came to me. I hadn't been there long. I had been building my brand reputation. I was very authentically at that point myself. And they saw something in the way I showed up, in the opinions that I had, that said, you know what, she can run this. And over other people who thought they could run it, or going outside, which is something was the original plan, I think. So that was like, oh, okay. And for doing that role well, they gave me another role. That's a cautionary tale at the same time. So I had two jobs at one time. Two big jobs.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Whole nother podcast.
That I only find that my women C-suite ascension successors have gone through, where we get the multiple jobs.
Yeah, or the clean it up, the fix it.
We're always cleaning, we're always fixing, we're always, yes.
That being said, though,
all of those things.
That being said, I listened to...
But I learned from them too.
I listened to another podcast. I'm not a big podcast listener, believe it or not, but I only saw this because it was going around. And she said the three most important words in her career that have propelled her career, her whole life, was, I'll do that. And she's not wrong. She's not wrong, but there's a way to bound it
Yes, boundaries.
outcome or time or
Boundaries.
something
Yes.
that doesn't have you spinning in it forever, and also get you credit for it, because
Yes.
it's often not the fact that you were given more,
Yeah.
it's that you were taken for granted in that, number one, and number two, you never got the credit for how you turned it around.
So,
Credit being visibility or money
yes.
or title or whatever it is. So having that conversation up front
Your exit strategy.
is the key. It's not doing it. That's not the point.
That's
It's
right.
knowing what's on the other end of it.
That's exact. And how long? Because you said boundary, and I think that's right. Even in taking a new role, a lot of times I think people misunderstand that same energy that goes into taking that new assignment is expected to stay at the same level and cadence for the next 9 months. I have always been a 3-monther, okay? 3 months. Any new big thing, whatever it is, gets 3 months to get full on 360, figure it out, all the energy. When I get to the 91st day, it's time for me to put me in check, put everything around me in check, articulate what is and what isn't, define what that outcome looks like solidly, and be good with it, and make sure that everybody else is. So what would you tell me? Is that a wrong way to do it or not?
The caveat to that, I'm not mad at that at all. There's a couple of caveats that come with that. And I've been thinking about this lately because as I'm advising, C-suite people who are going into new roles, we all want to get in there and make an immediate impact.
Yes.
I have no idea the context, the environment, history, the culture, the anything. And you come in there breaking glass immediately, that might not serve you. So what I'm telling people right now is, there are some things you're getting going on in that first 90 days, but I wouldn't make any big decisions or changes. You need to work on, to me, relationships and followership in the first 90 days.
And learning.
And context, right. Learning what you're walking into, because we all know what they sold you is not what it is. It never is.
Never.
First thing. The second thing is,
please take that to anybody listening, because that is a myth. People think, well, they told me the job was ... right? And honestly, it's not that anyone is trying to mislead you. It's just that the mission was to capture a great asset, and that was you. So be excited about that.
They were in sell mode.
But now
with that. But that's why it's up to you, whoever.
Yep.
The one thing I will do is ask a question. Ask the right questions. But back to your 90-day thing, the caveat that I have on that, and I tell people, which is good or bad, truthfully, I'll tell you the flip side of what I'm going to say in a minute. But at the beginning, you are now training them in that 90-day what to expect of you.
Oh.
So you show up all the way vibrating up here, and you drop off like this. Day 91, I feel like you need to signal the turn or whatever in some kind of way, or think about what is sustainable.
I love that.
Right. So if you meet somewhere in the middle, that way when you smack up, it's overachieving. It's exceeding expectations of what.
You're basically saying you've defined, unless you have audibly indicated what your style of learning is and what your style of integration is, unless you've audibly which you should, and which I do, because I learned the hard way.
Manager assimilation, that's a whole other thing.
But let me tell you this, I learned the hard way exactly what you're saying, because before I learned how to understand my boundaries and define what my 90 looks like, right? I was vibrating at such a level that was the expectation. So there was no going down from there.
Not sustainable for you.
It's not
sustainable. It might not be achievable for others. I'm not saying don't do it. I think more is expected of us.
Absolutely. But you got to communicate.
You got to figure out how to do that in a way that is sustainable. Now, here's the flip side of that.
Yeah.
I do say go hard for like the first 6 months. Go hard. Then you never have to go hard again. So that's the opposite of what I just said. And the reason I say that is we tell this story way back when I was in college, actually. I was an intern at the state capitol in Tennessee. And blah, blah, blah. Something was going on. We had a bill to get on the floor. But I was always who I was. I think I was 18, 19 at the time. And the representative that I was supporting had a bill that needed to go to the floor the next day. But everything wasn't done. We had, relationships we had some things to tick in time. He turned the corner to his office. It was 5:30 in the morning. I was already there. And I proceeded to be there 5:36 for the next month or whatever it was. Now, the second month I wasn't coming in at 5:30 or 6. But to this day, now someone recently passed away, but to this day, there are people who still know me as the person that will be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Even at every job, I'm an early bird anyway. It's nothing for me to get there at 7 for the first 6 months and stay until whatever. That's, that was before remote work and all this. And that's a whole nother conversation as well. But you are setting the stage for your brand of what people think they know about you in that beginning. So figure out what you want that to be. And then at a certain point, you really don't ever have to do that again because you've already set.
Well, I want to think about it this way. And honestly, I think this is a principle that for sure, starting in finance risk, but GE just took it all the way there. Mm-hmm. When you start off, it's almost like a flywheel. When it gets going, that energy is there and it starts to work for you. So when you do the start, it's you being the flywheel and getting the energy going and figuring it out and understanding the people and understanding the assignment and checking in with your network and all the things, right? But at some point, that energy starts to take on a life of its own and it starts going forward.
With the people around you.
Yes.
Right? And you don't have to lift that load by yourself.
Not by yourself, right? Because you have followers.
Right? You're not taking a walk by yourself. You look behind you and there are people behind you. So they know what you expect.
Yes.
They know what you need. They know the bar.
Yes.
That they have to perform to. So
and here's the thing too, that I would say, and I'd love your feedback on, but what I've learned in my leadership journey is before the not perfect seasons, I used to think that I needed to figure things out in private too. kind of back what you're saying. When I'm owning a new team, my comfortability with vulnerability has really served me because now that flywheel effect and that energy to learn and grow and acknowledge that if nothing else changed, if I'm the only new pebble to this whole sand, the assignment still has changed because there's a new pebble in the sand. So now how do we form? We understand the assignment collectively because it's a new voice in place and we execute and make it happen together. And so there's a level of comfortability with the vulnerability in sharing and bringing them in to we're figuring this out together that I think once you really start to know who you are, what your center is, what you're good at, there's no threat in the not knowing. And there's so much goodness in the vulnerability in the right way. People respond to that. And they I
think the pandemic really brought that out and made it more important.
Tell me more.
I say a lot of times that comfort with vulnerability, that was not a thing at GE. That was not.
Okay, let me be clear. Never, ever in a day of my GE life would I have even spelled the word vulnerability. In fact, if anything, my ability there became the ability to command with confidence externally and so much imposter syndrome internally sometimes because we were always in new situations.
That's a whole nother podcast. I just do not subscribe to that, but I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
Now I think the people who got more were more successful in that horrific, chaotic time of pandemic were people who had been in an environment like General Electric, where you just had a very solid foundation of what I'll call the harder skills, but had evolved enough along the way where now they can marry that with this comfort, with being more vulnerable. Because you had to stop for a minute and take stock.
So it was better to come into it than to grow in it, is what you're saying.
Well, I don't know if that's what I'm saying, but what I do know is you got to have both.
Break it down.
I think if you are just someone who brings the strategy, the whatever, the finance, whatever, functional expertise, without an understanding of how people, at whatever juncture, that juncture of the pandemic happened to be, we were all in the same boat, trying to figure it out, needing a North Star. It became a superpower to be able to take stock of the people around you, check in with them, check in with yourself, figure out what do they need from me now and today, and then get people oriented to the path forward, which was about strategy, which was about delivering, which was about outcomes. So the people who could do that, to me, rose above the people who could not, for sure.
I think it's the people with a lot of EQ. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
I truly believe
EQ, vulnerability, you know.
All those traits that probably in times were my Achilles heel in my GE journey. And we're not talking, I don't know what G's like now. I'm talking way back to Jack.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was
I have to say that out loud, because if you don't know, you don't know. There's an alumni base of Jack Welch GEers that is a whole different MBA program that if you did not participate in that GE, you do not know what we're talking about. Okay.
I think they know though, because we all by equal parts are like proud of it, but can't believe you survived it.
Yes,
But I tell people all the time, if you can call me successful, it is 100% because I built on that.
That's right.
100%.
100%.
And I'm very good.
It showed you your cracks and you knew what to fill. And for somebody else, the cracks was way the hard side. For somebody else, the cracks was way the soft side. For somebody else, it was navigating because they knew how to immediately do the middle and all the things, right? You had to operate at high intellect. That was a non-negotiable. And you had to, before there was a word for agility in the workplace, you had to have that as your first muscle, because the minute you figured something out, somebody like Kim Seymour was tapping you to take the next thing. You're like, well, damn, I just figured that out.
I mean, all of it, that Six Sigma, just a mind for process excellence and all of that. And it applies to things that are not process.
Yes.
So, yep.
All right, take us all the way back, because I hope you figured out a theme. I'm not letting you go. We're going to talk again because I love you and your voice. The gems you are dropping, I know are blessing.
Well, it's so interesting when, thank you, but I am convinced that I am not saying, I never or very rarely say anything that you don't intrinsically know.
True.
Somewhere within you, or maybe you just need someone to say it out loud. Maybe you need permission to do the next thing or whatever.
And somebody doesn't even know why they tapped into this podcast today, and now they're learning. Right.
I mean, I'm just not convinced that we're so brilliant and nothing is new under the sun. That I'm pretty convinced about. So do I have some different perspectives because I've sat in different seats and at different tables and heard brilliant and stupid stuff? Yeah. So, all of that comes into the mix when I'm trying to think about what's the path forward for myself or someone else.
All right. So look, we're going to do rapid fire because I acknowledge that you are given your time, and I want to hear a couple things that allow folks to unpack a little bit more who Kim Seymour is. All right. So rapid fire is just that. Like you just answer first, answer comes to your mind, and we'll just keep it flowing, okay? Morning routine, must have.
Coffee.
Ooh, really? All right.
Coffee and oh, you know what? I listen to the radio first thing in the morning. I still listen to radio.
No, like
I,
a turn it on radio.
oh, well, iHeartRadio is radio now, but I'll listen to either Hot 97 because I live in New York, or I'm from Memphis. I listen to K97. So yes, I do radio and I do coffee. No, my coffee is not black. By the time I get finished with my coffee, there's very little coffee actually in it. Right now, today's flavor is horchata.
Oh.
I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Oh, okay. All right. The biggest myth about success. And I know you've been through some hard things, my sister, and you are doing them beautifully.
Thank you.
Such grace. What is the biggest myth about success?
I don't know if myth is the right word, but the biggest fallacy is letting somebody else define what that means for you.
Ooh.
Now, those things that I've been through health-wise, that I've come through, for me, success means options.
Yes.
I have, and I want people to know that they have those. You're not stuck. Mm-hmm. You might be stuck right now, but you're not stuck forever. You don't have to be. For me, it's options to do exactly what I want to do with people that I want to do it with, or to not do anything at all. Options.
All right. And here's the last one. Inbox zero, is it dream or reality? Because, girl, the struggle is real.
It's not, I don't know what it is about my personality that does not allow me to delete anything. So every couple of years, I get on let me do the mass delete on my inbox. But then I start, well, what if there's some attachment somewhere deep that I might need to refer to that I've just forgotten right now? My inbox is unbelievable to the tune of thousands.
Oh, wow.
And people who know me probably will hate to hear this. My text, I never delete a text.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh.
Let's see when our last.
Oh, Lord.
I won't say what it was, but it could have been if you had a new phone.
Yes.
Or I had a new phone. Oh, this is not even right because this says May, and that's not right.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not right.
It might be just on this phone, but anyway. Matter of fact, it says May 5th, and I know that's not right.
Yeah.
See, that upsets me.
Yeah.
I got to be able to. You never know what you might need to refer to. What did she say her sister's name was?
Yes, yes.
Where? No, I don't delete. And that's horrible. And my mom would say, or my grandfather would say that that's the sign of a messy mind.
Ooh.
And so that spurs me sometime to go through and try to clean out.
Yes.
But more, you never know.
Yes. I think I feel that you never know. I feel that. And I think that's a cultural thing too, because I feel like in my GE upbringing, that's where that you never know came in, right? Because I never know when I was going to be called to the carpet on the thing that I forgot about, right? Yeah.
I don't know if that's my thing. It might just be I'm a hoarder. I don't know.
Well, look, maybe you don't have the trauma that I do, but in that regard, and honestly, I'm poking fun for sure. There's so much more goodness there than there is trauma. I need everybody in the ethosphere to know that.
I had no trauma. I've had no trauma at any of my roles. Yeah. That's what I mean by options.
Yeah, that's right.
The option is, I can stay here.
Yeah.
I can deal with this, or I can go do something else.
That's right. That's right.
Let me make things align to that.
Well, I have to tell you, this has been an awesome conversation. I know for sure that someone needed to hear these words deposited in their spirit today as a reminder, as you say. And for some, it was the first time that they were held up a mirror and told to look and straighten their tie. Okay. And that's important. Both of them are. The not perfect moments make us proven. And I'm so grateful that God would trust me with proven not perfect as a community and a share and a blessing to others. And I thank you for blessing me with your friendship for so many years. I'm telling this to you in front of the cheap sheet seats. I'm giving you your roses. You have been literally a text or a call away from me and for my family. I can't give you enough love.
You're welcome. I appreciate it.
Godspeed. All right. All right, y'all. You got it. You heard it here. Proven Not Perfect. See you soon.